All right, we are live. What's up, killers? Thanks for the first thumbs up. We're going to see what is shaking. I'm assuming you can hear me. Today is December 27th. This is the last State of Networks of the year. And yeah, I thought we might do a year in review, or we might just sit down and see what you guys want to talk about. I think the big crazy thing in the last, 2 weeks, and we've already hit this a little bit, is the rise of Helium Mobile and the general kind of pump in the crypto markets. So really interesting to see what's going down with that. Yeah, and how the whole thing is kind of playing out. I just got my indoor Helium hotspots in yesterday. I put one up at Paleo Treats, put one up at the house. So we'll see how those things go. It's been kind of fun to, just to go through that whole process, put them up, see how the whole thing works on the Wi-Fi side. We put up the CBRS ones. I put up the one that Keenan had bought in Austin a while ago. What's up, Adam? Merry Christmas, dog. And that's been running. But if I'm understanding it right, CBRS isn't passing data, Wi-Fi is. So kind of cool to see, data passing on the Wi-Fi hotspots. I got both Lee, my wife, and I on Helium Mobile this week. I think we actually finished that process finally yesterday. I'd made some mistakes when I started off, and so we cleaned all those up yesterday and started passing data and crushing on Helium. Nick, thoughts on Nadix versus HiveMapper? I don't know. They're both doing good things. I mean, they're just taking different approaches, and we're going to kind of see what works. The Nadix side is, last I saw, and I think it's still correct, they're using the phone for the camera, and they are just passing back the objects that they see. So, hey, there's a stop sign here, and there's traffic lights there. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you. And then HiveMapper obviously is passing back the full images. So interesting to see what is going to end up being kind of more valuable there. They're both super sharp founders, Ariel and 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐸𝐻𝐸𝐸𝐻, I think it is. I think that's right. So yeah, both super sharp founders, both have really good ideas. It's one of those things where we're going to see like what's going to be the best or a good project. And we'll see how it works. And they may end up doing, different enough things that both of them get to survive and do well. So I'm not sure why Demo is aligning with one versus the other. I haven't talked to the Demo guys in a little while about that specific thing. So who knows? Interesting stuff. I mean, we're going to see a ton of projects, some of them good, some of them bad, pop up over the next 6 months. So I think I put this out on Twitter last week, is just be careful. Do your research, make sure you read about what's going on, make sure you understand the project, make sure you understand how they're understanding the world. So what their incentives look like and why they're building the incentives they're building, how they communicate with their community. Like all of these things matter for a project. And some of the stuff I'm seeing is we're seeing projects that are kind of built on other projects. There's a bunch of examples of this in Helium. And it's just, for me, it's a red flag. It's not necessarily a no-go, but when you see a project say, we're going to be like X, but better, not X Twitter, but just, fill in your project, we're going to be like Helium, but better. You just got to ask and be very, very persistent about getting an answer. How are you going to be better? And how are you going to compete with, in this case, Helium, where they already have a global LoRaWAN? If you're also going to build a global LoRaWAN, how are you going to make something that is more valuable than what they've already got, and in what way? And if the answer is just you're going to earn more tokens, then double red flag. The answer should be, we have some technical achievement that they don't have. We have some way of doing things that they don't have doing, all that stuff. And let me see if I can bring in Daniel here. Stand by. I think I put this on the 3. Hang on, Daniel. Let me get you in here with your fancy hat on. And bam, there we go. What's up, dog? Dude, it's summertime in Lisbon, huh? Oh, I'm not getting your mic yet. I wonder why. I think you should be good. You might have to make some changes in the settings. We'll get there. Let's see, Adam. I haven't touched my miners for a long time. I just went and checked on them last week. I updated the apps. Are there any key pieces of info I need to know to continue to earn HNT? Yeah, first, you're not going to be earning HNT. You're now earning probably IoT, either IoT or mobile. Did that work, Daniel?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, it's a little bit delayed, but I can hear you. Weird.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe the internet here is not the best.
Okay. Yeah, I'll work with a delay, but I like it. It must be summertime there, huh? Where are you? Are you in Lisbon?
Yeah,
Still
I'm
or
in
no?
Brazil.
Oh, Brazil. Okay,
I'm
yeah.
in
So it
south
is.
of Brazil.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
best place to be in December and January.
Yeah.
I'll be here until the beginning of February, I think.
Okay.
So it's gonna be very exciting.
Cool. Super cool. Hell yeah. What's going on
Ha-
in the world of Hotspot? You guys got your podcast. You got the DePIN You got all kinds of stuff going on. What's shaking?
Yeah, we don't stop, right? There's too many things happening. It's so exciting. I mean, it's super nice that we released like deepinhub.io. There's still a lot of work to be done there. We've been meeting just so many founders, so many people, and just to see how cool the space is picking up. There's like Deep in State, State of the Network, Deep in Hub podcast. There's so many like podcasts and people and a lot of content to be built, right? I think that's
Yeah.
that's the focus that we're trying to do now, and focus on what we do best. One of the things that we do well is education, right? Like you as well, getting more people into Web3, people that don't know anything about crypto. Uh,
Yep.
I think Deepin is gonna be the place to be next year. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, just let's just go, right?
Yeah. No, it's gonna be a big one. Hey, speaking of education, we got this dude Adam James here, where he's like, "Hey, I've been away for a while." It's actually an interesting question. Is where can I catch
Yes.
up? And I think, maybe like reading the entire Gristleking blog for the past couple months, but that's not a great answer. And there might be something where I just end up writing like a blog post that covers the last 6 months so you can read everything in one place. Because we are seeing, I mean, Daniel, you're seeing the same thing, right? People coming in like, hey, exactly what this guy, Adam, said. Had my miners on. I forgot about them. I found out about them when the price bumped. Like, what have I missed? We probably need to do some educational content around that.
Yeah, it's been crazy even for us at Hotspotty, like the Helium fleet management. There are so many more people coming back to the space, right?
Yeah.
Um, like it's just so funny because that's something that we've been talking throughout the whole last year, throughout the whole bear market. Like, dude, the hotspot costs so little to run. Why would you just unplug it if it doesn't cost anything? And
Yeah.
then imagine how much money people lost, not lost, but didn't make because of this decision of, oh, helium is over, and things like that, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah. I
the
mean, I
cycle.
had a couple miners go offline, and I think we all talked about this. It was just like it got to a point where there was so much other stuff to do, and especially on the building side, it got pretty
Yeah.
exciting there for a while as far as you can use the network, and we were doing tracking stuff and weather stations and all kinds of geeky things. When a couple of mine went offline, I was like, oh, I'll get to those later. And I look back now, and it's like I no regrets on anything.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
that's
letting
for
stuff
sure.
go offline maybe wasn't the best financial decision.
I mean, I think that's okay, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, same thing goes to me. I have a lot of hotspots in rooftops in Lisbon that I don't have easy access to,
Yeah.
and we have so many things to build on top of that. But I wasn't actively turning off hotspots. I
No,
think
no,
that's
no.
a lot of people did that. I think that was the not smart decision for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then now that the price is picking up, the excitement is going to the whole market. We've seen a lot of people come back to Hotspotty, to Deepin Hub, to everywhere, and like James, for example, and just like, okay, what did I miss?
Yeah.
We got so many people complaining like, why is my hotspot not making any more AGNT? And like, man, it's been almost a year, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think Adam is bitching. He's just saying, like, hey, I forgot about this thing. What happened? Let's see if we can do a quick recap right now, because that might be useful. And then we just say later on, hey, go to whatever the time hack is. Helium transitioned to Solana last spring. When it transitioned to Solana, it went from HNT to mobile and IoT, were the two tokens that were being earned. Almost all of the miners online at the time went to earn IoT, which is the Internet of Things stuff. So all the LoRaWAN piece, which is small packets of data, really long distances. And then with that came a bunch of new hotspots that were mobile hotspots. So they're transferring on a protocol called CBRS, so Citizens Band, what is it, Radio Spectrum System, something like that. Was only available in the US, and you earn mobile. At the time, mobile wasn't worth very much, and there was certainly a time for a couple months where people were really excited about it, and then they didn't care about it at all, and then they thought mobile was dead. What was happening in the background was that the company who'd originally started Helium, Nova, or who transitioned to a new company, Nova, was building this Wi-Fi stuff, which they recently launched in November. So we're skipping forward kind of 10 months and skipping over a bunch of the building that we did. And now that these Wi-Fi hotspots are out, they are also earning mobile. Again, this is only available in the US right now. And that has, and I think Max and I covered this, Max and I covered this in a Deep in State podcast. There was a funny little meme coin named Bonk that went up. When it went up, it made people who'd bought a Solana Saga phone realize that the Bonk that was airdropped to their Saga phone was worth more than the phone. They're super excited about the phone. A bunch of the phones sold out really quickly because you'd buy a $600 phone and sell whatever $1,000 worth of bonk, make $200 for getting a phone. With the phone came a Helium mobile plan for a month, so people who are in DeFi on the Solana side get exposed to Helium. They get psyched on Helium Mobile, and they kind of bring the DeFi crowd into Helium Mobile, and the token price goes bananas. And that's when people started getting excited about Helium again. That also brought up the IoT price because it brings up the HNT price. So a lot of stuff kind of went on. I don't know, Daniel. What else would you add to that? Let me put your name.
Yeah,
in
no, I think it's super cool, right? Yeah, there was like Solana breakpoint in I think November or
Yep.
this year, like a few months ago, and the price of the token was much lower. But we could see like just the excitement on so many people still building on Solana, and
Yeah.
and of course this bonk was the catalysis, or like to start
Totally. Catalyst. Yeah.
the whole catalyst. Yeah, sorry, for the Helium for the Solana Saga phone,
Yep.
because it was almost a failure, right? Because they sold, I don't know, out of 25,000, they sold like 1,000 or 2,000. Like I think it was like 3,000, and that's not enough mass for really adoptions for developers to start deploying products and apps on the Solana dApp
Yeah.
ecosystem.
Yep.
And but then every time you bought the phone, you get 30 million bonk tokens, and the bonk token went up, and it was like you made more money by buying the phone on bonk than actually just buying the phone
Yep.
without it. I bought one as well. I'm waiting for it, so I'm excited. Not necessarily just because of the prices of the token. Of course, it helps, but to be able to start playing around with that, because there's like a secure chip inside it, so it's going to be like the perfect phone if you want to try to do stuff with Web3 on an Android, much better than doing like on a regular phone. Um, so yeah, I think it's going to be the thing that can pick up this whole like Web3 phone and that like decentralized apps and on the phone market. Um, and yeah, and that's just the beginning, right? I think now the excitement looks it's back, and I do personally think that DePIN is going to be very big on the next year, like 2024.
Yeah.
Uh, 2020 there was only like Helium, and then there was like some 2 or 3 other projects, and now we're seeing over 100 projects on DePIN. We've
Yep.
seen that there are a lot of funds releasing accelerator programs,
Oh yeah.
like for example, Hashkey in Hong Kong. I think they had 50 applicants, and they selected 8. So they're working with 8 new companies that are just starting. Future Money as well
Yep.
with
Biotex. Yep.
I think Biotech. They're releasing their own, focusing on the US. And then there is of course Peak blockchain, focused more on the European market. In February they're gonna have event with Bosch. So they partner with Bosch, which is one of the
Huge.
biggest like sensor manufacturer in the world, and they're partnering with Peak for IoT stuff. So it's
Yep.
going to be, it's just so many things happening. Like Peak doesn't yet have a token yet. They have like Crest, which is like their testnet token, and they're going to launch, I think, the Peak token in beginning of next year. So there's a lot of things that's been brewing throughout the last year. They're going to start being released next year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
exciting.
we got a podcast coming out with the Peak guy talking about that. Um, I mean, and it's interesting is that over the summer, Max and I were doing the Deep in State stuff, and it was a struggle to get people to come on. It was a pain in the ass. People like, yeah, I'll get there later, and we were just thinking, shit, like what do we do here? Is that we know pretty much everyone in the industry, just like you. We've reached out to all of them. Some of them come on, but a lot of times they just don't have news or their heads down and building. Right? You can only come on say once. I don't know, unless you're cranking like once a month is probably the max repetition. And even then, we had people saying like, "Oh, we'll come back to you in November." And so
Yeah.
we were like, "Oh, what do we do with Deep in State?" And then 2 weeks ago, we suddenly got booked up, and now we've got more episodes than we can release in a month and a half. And so just the how fast it turned around. We're now backlogged with episodes, and I think that's something good for folks kind of watching this to know, is like that's a little bit of behind the scenes information that's like, all right, people are getting serious about this. They now want to get the word out. And, while it's frustrating, it's like, fuck, where were you in August? I also get it. Like, you didn't have anything in August, and now you got something, and let's get that word out.
Yeah, I mean, same thing for us. I stopped doing interviews because we have recorded a bunch of them, and then okay, if I'm going to start releasing them, we're doing a new podcast episode every Friday, so we try to just like once a week.
Cool.
And if I'm going to start recording as fast as I was going, the information was going to get stale, right?
Yeah.
So then we decided to take a break on. Let's start scheduling things closer from the release date.
Yep.
Because then the information is fresher. We're trying to get some alpha from the projects on things that is going to happen. Then yeah, if I do it and then I release the episode 2 months later, the news already out, and then the excitement's gone, right?
Yeah. No,
So
it's a tough thing, and maybe we just release more. I always am talking with Max. I'm like, just fuck it, let's release it the same day, and he's like, no, let's like space them out because people want to know when to expect something. So there's other variables that go into the getting it out there, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, same thing with the DePIN Hub newsletter. So
Yep.
for those who are not subscribed yet, I would suggest you to go to
subscribe.
depinhub.io
Yep.
and subscribe for it. We're doing every 2 weeks, and I think the newsletter is getting too long because there's way too much to cover in one newsletter. So I think from January, we're going to start doing weekly newsletters.
Yeah.
So trying to get like a team of like copywriters and people that can be focused on actually building the content.
Yep.
And me and Max and the like core team of Hotspot really like putting together what are the focus, what are the things that are happening, what are the main things that are being announced on that week.
Yep.
And then having people to write about that. And it's cool. It's a new world for us as well, right? Like going from just being 24/7 building and now 24/7 to like getting people together, understand the space, talking to founders, talking to investors, and putting that information on a newsletter, on like everything.
Yeah. It's neat, certainly neat on the kind of far side of this, because I think I don't know, throughout the summer, we saw a lot of projects just kind of losing hope. We talked to a couple projects, and we do the interviews with them, and so that's what the public sees. But we usually have 5 minutes before and 5 or 10 minutes after, while we're kind of cleaning up admin stuff and talking to folks. And I remember one project had said to us, they're like, "Dude, we don't think this is going to work. Like, what do you think is going to happen?" And luckily at the time, we just had the same general ideas. Like, no, this is going to work. It's going to be a banger. You just got to make sure that you last long enough to get into the bull market. And once you're there, then you have to make sure that you have the structure and the story. And we've talked about this on the Gold Hawk site. Structure, story, catalyst stuff is make sure you've got the structure to handle the run up. And you saw it last time with Hotspotty, where there's just so much work to do. There's such an influx of demand that if you haven't prepared for it, it's really hard to capitalize fully on it. And I think that's something you guys can probably attest to. It's like, there's huge opportunities there that if you're not ready for them, and if you don't even know they're coming, you're going to miss. And it's nice to see you kind of here for this round where like, it's coming, dude. I'm psyched to see what you built.
Yeah, definitely. We're preparing some things that we're going to launch, like announce in the next couple months.
Yep.
That we're trying to be ready for when the market picks up.
Yep.
And I was talking to my Max, and they were just like, okay, that if like we can't be sure that it's going to happen, but if these things happen, we have to be ready, because if you just decide to start building when the market's hot, you're already too late, right?
Yeah.
So and then there's another thing that I talked to a lot of DePIN projects, like early stage projects, and they're trying to release their hardware and everything. I said, if the market is hot, it's going to be very hard for you to just cope with the demand, right?
Yep.
So, like for example, 𝐒𝐻𝐸 they released a whitelist for people to be able to buy. I think they're going to release 1,000 miners initially.
Yep.
And I think they're trying to like take their time a little bit on that, because they had the whole fork from Tor to 𝐒𝐻𝐸.
Yep.
But things are moving quite fast there as well. But I tell them, like, because they ask for a lot of questions in terms of, okay, what are the things that you learned like throughout the Helium history, right? Like from the beginning when there was like, I don't know, a few thousand hotspots until the bull market and the whole excitement. And a lot of companies can learn from that, because I mean, Helium did a really great job, right? They really tried their best they were like the pioneers.
Yeah.
They managed to get shot a little bit, but still survive, right?
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
now they're the
It's funny if you think of like
satellites.
pioneers in covered wagons and people like, why weren't they driving Porsches? Like there weren't roads when they came. Now there's roads.
Exactly.
Now there's going to be fast cars. Now there's going to be all kinds of things. But when it started, it wasn't called DePIN. It wasn't even called TIPIN. It wasn't called, I mean, I think DY was like
It's
the first
DY,
kind of thing. And it went DY, DePIN, 𝐒𝐻𝐵, or sorry, DY TIPIN, 𝐒𝐻𝐵,
Machine
DePIN.
Phi, Edge
Yeah.
Phi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's like a
there's so
million.
many names.
So,
There's a proof of physical work. I think it was like
oh yeah. Yep.
multi-coin as well. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I
Everybody was,
like the thing there. There's no name that can englobe everything that it's all the projects. I think
yeah.
DePIN is gonna be eight, or like maybe something's gonna change, but or like real world assets, and
Yeah.
I don't
IOTex's
know.
thing. No, I mean, I think this was kind of some funny behind the scenes stuff is that basically all the projects and VCs got together and they're like, look, everybody's got their own name that they want to push, but Masari is bigger than all of us. And Sami Kassab came up with DePIN. And so we're going to go with DePIN. Like, we don't need to be fighting about this shit. And so like, I was trying to push blockchain and meat space. And then that came along. It's like, you know what? Fuck it. They're right. Let's just go with the DePIN thing. And then we can crack on and go. But it was pretty funny for a while there.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter, right?
No.
It's just a name in the end. As
Yeah.
long as everybody know what you're talking about, that's what we need.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the 𝐒𝐻𝐸 guys are good. Max and I talked to those guys. I like how big they think. And I think they're doing some really interesting stuff on the privacy side. So, and they've got a really cool, nuanced way of thinking about privacy, anonymity, all these different kind of variations that for a normal person are all the same thing. But those guys have a pretty good understanding of kind of a really good understanding of what they're doing and what they're offering. So
Yeah.
be super, super excited to see where that one goes. Yeah. Wi-Fi DAB is coming in. That's been pretty cool. Working with those guys.
Yeah.
Obviously Helium Mobile and seeing the incentives. I think one thing that's pretty interesting, Daniel, that we're seeing is that there is the incentive side as it is, which is like basically reading all of the legal code of a country. And then there's the explanation of like what you want to achieve. And so there's this idea that for some people who just have, or are kind of wired for it, and they write the legal code, it's like, oh, well, in section 2.74B, what we talk about is, this specific thing. And what the average person needs to hear is, for your mapper on Helium Mobile, you just have to have discovery mapping turned on and you have to move 200 feet a day. That's it. There's all kinds of other stuff goes in there. Oh, you split it with this many people and there's these many people have these many phones and this is what happens. And you can look at some of this stuff and it's pretty interesting to see on Christmas Day, the average reward went up, probably because most people stayed home and didn't move 200 feet.
Yeah, and everybody have their miner at home using the metric and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. So it's been funny. And then thinking about where you're going to put your hotspot. And it's going to be interesting to see how Helium Mobile rolls out Wi-Fi if they can around the world. I think that's the next really big move.
Damn.
So,
Yes. Because I mean, yeah, I think that if they announce that kind of growth, I think it's gonna be a whole new life and world for Helium Mobile, for the mobile token, for DePIN in general, right?
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Stand by for sure. Adam, how do I get the mobile miner set up? You can do that if you're in the US. I think it's hellohelium.com. I'm sure there's some affiliate code that some jack someone will put in the chat and they'll earn their $5 or whatever it is. But yeah, that's cool. So that's how you get the mobile stuff. The mobile, you can get it on your phone. So you have a phone plan that can live alongside your Verizon or T-Mobile or whatever, or it can replace because it's backed by T-Mobile. I just flat out replaced mine. I was like, I don't want to do two SIMs on my phone, but you can certainly run them both at the same time. And then on the miner side, you buy it from hellohelium.com as well. I think you can only buy indoors right now, but their indoor and outdoor miners are both Wi-Fi. That stuff should generally work. I found a couple power cycles are needed for the hotspots to actually connect up, but that's fine. No one gets hardware
Yeah.
fully right. And then what app to use to manage your miner? We should probably put in a plug for Hotspot here, huh, Daniel?
yeah, I mean, if you want to check the rewards and everything for the either the Helium IoT, the mobile, the 3G and everything, you can just check out hotspotty.net.
Yeah, hotspotty.net. And then if you're using the old Blue app, switch over to the Helium Black wallet app.
Yeah.
And I think I've got a bunch of
The
videos.
the
In fact,
black
good.
Yeah, no, the Black app is pretty good. You can either even like swap tokens using Jupiter if you want to like sell some mobile tokens to USDC.
Yep.
You can manage your devices. You can do a lot of things through the app, and it's also open source. So I think that's a pretty interesting thing that Helium is doing.
Dude, have you seen? I'll display my ignorance here. Have you seen anywhere to get the redemption value of tokens, or is it just a swap on Jupiter?
What do you mean in terms of?
So what ends up happening is that in a perfect world, the market is totally efficient, and the redemption like the value of a coin will never go below the redemption value of the treasury, right? If there's, we'll just say if there's 100 tokens in the treasury and 10 of those tokens or 15 of those tokens are assigned to Helium IoT, then those 15 tokens are, you take the number of IoT tokens and they're backed by that much HNT. So there's a floor value for the IoT tokens. Well, what I noticed was that the market is actually inefficient, and sometimes the price will be higher or lower than the redemption value, and that presents arbitrage opportunities. But I haven't found a way to actually redeem the token value as it's stated. It just looks like you swap it in Jupiter. And when you swap, usually the spread isn't big enough to offset the fees that you pay.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how that goes into like the tokenomics of the
Yeah.
AgenT and mobile. But in terms of the swapping things, I haven't done anything with Helium in the last like couple of months.
Yep.
How has it been in terms of liquidity in the market? I mean, Jupiter, I like hats off for their DEX. It's killing. It's much better than any other DEX I've ever used.
Yeah, I haven't. So I've had problems with specific coins where there wasn't enough liquidity for a coin that was not
Yeah.
Helium. But I haven't had any issues with, I mean, other than just the
Yeah.
app sometimes takes an extra second, or sometimes like everyone's trying to do a transaction at the same time, so it doesn't go through and you got to do it again. But outside of that, like everything's been fine.
Yeah, I mean, try to do that on Ethereum, and then everything's gonna cost like 50 to $100.
Yeah.
And then in Solana, it's like it's fast enough and it's very cheap, right? I've been just playing around with like token swapping here, swapping there, buying like Bonk, buying DJ Bonk, buying Weave, just to play around. And I feel that the more I try to do, I mean,
Careful.
it's gambling. This,
Yeah.
yeah,
As
yeah.
long as you know what it is, yeah.
It's like it's a little bit of a play money that I played, but I do that mainly to learn the technology, right? Because like the best way to learn is by doing. So like, oh, I want to see how the limit work on Jupiter, so I put limit I order for, I don't know, $10 and do something,
Yeah.
and just trying to do. I mean, one thing that you guys can, it's just like a fun thing. If you go to mythicdragons.club, it's I did yesterday,
Straight
yesterday
financial
or 2 days
advice from
ago.
fucking Daniel at Hotspotty.
Yeah, financial advice. Go to mythicdragons.club. It's an NFT collection that I created
Okay. Oh, cool.
on 2 days ago.
Okay.
Just because I wanted to learn from A to Z how the like an NFT collection works.
Hang on, let me write it down. And it's not Edge Pilot.
Let me just see if it's. Let
Is it
me just see if I get the right thing.
mythicdragons.club, you said?
Mythic Dragon. Mythic.
Oh, Dragon.
No, sorry, Mystical. Mystic Dragon. Sorry, yeah, I don't even know the name. It's mysticdragon.club. Yes.
All right, like that?
Okay. Yeah, I see mysticdragon.com. Yes. Exactly. So
Okay.
if you go there, it's there's only 100 really cool dragon pictures.
Okay.
It costs 0.1 sol, so
Okay.
it's like $10. So if you help me, pay for my like kids' school, which I don't have.
My children's
Um,
cereal. Yeah.
yeah, but it was just like a fun project. I didn't like took me, I don't know, 4 hours to do the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just wanted to learn what is the process, right, to go from zero to having like NFT collection with the minting. So there's like, I think 100 pictures. There's around, I think 5 or 6 that was already like minted from some friends. Like I'm not expecting this to become anything. I'm not going to
Yeah.
be promoting, you know, because there are some NFTs that can have really interesting value and interesting like use cases.
Yep.
This was just okay. I want to build something that's going to be from understanding, and I'm just going to release it, and so it's going to be like a fun like holiday project. And it's live. It's working. People can mint, and
I'll
it
go check
works.
it out. Maybe I'll pick up a dragon after this.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be fun. Hey, we've talked about this a bunch before, and I think I forgot to do it at the beginning. And I thought I saw this thing by Greg where he's like, I swap my IoT earnings every week to Sol. I think we just do our little PSA on crypto in general right now and say, look, you're going to see, and Greg, there's nothing against you. Like everybody's got their own strategy. But just in general, folks, when you guys are watching anything in crypto, whether it's State of the Networks, whether it's Daniel's stuff, whether it's my podcast, something on Twitter, Facebook, wherever you see it, just be really careful. Think about all of this stuff is that you'll certainly see YouTubers giving you financial advice that is fucking terrible. You'll see some of them give you financial advice that is probably good, but it's really difficult to tell. So crypto in general is a place where you really have to do your own thinking. You really have to do your own research. You got to think through what you're doing and why you're doing it. And you are fighting against this really powerful thing, typically called FOMO, fear of missing out, where you feel like if you don't get, not to pick on you, Daniel, but if you don't get a Mystic Dragon right now, they're going to be gone. It's going to be, 10 Sol. You're going to fucking miss out on the opportunity of a lifetime. That's all bullshit. Like, don't do any of that stuff. Be really careful with FOMO, understanding what you're getting into, and then typically treating it like, fun money, or at the very least, like money that if you lose it, no big deal. You're not even going to miss a cup of coffee. And if you do that, then crypto can be really fun. If you do some stuff that people did last time where they bet their mortgage on deploying Helium hotspots because Helium hotspots were making at a certain point so much money, you can wreck your life, man. And not a lot of people got that bad, but just be really careful. The forces here working against you, against your kind of human nature, are really strong. If you don't pay attention to them, they'll trip you up.
Yes. So. I mean, another thing is I believe that like DePIN is going to bring a lot of non-crypto native people to crypto.
Yep.
And from after Helium moved, I mean, I already talked about this, right? But I think it's worth repeating. After Helium moved from their own blockchain, which was much safer in terms of there was no smart contracts, and now Helium moved to Solana, which enable a lot of extra cool things. But another thing is that what's happening a lot is someone asks a question on Telegram or Discord, someone DMs you, and I say, oh, okay, I'm in support, let me help you. Just go to this. And then they come up with a very complex term, like, oh, you need to swap the firmware to a newer version. Like, if you don't know what the firmware is, etc. Yep. And it's like, it's very simple. You just go to this website, and then you enter your seed phrase. People don't understand that the seed phrase is basically the key to your vault, the key to all your money. And the person go like, okay, no problem. They type the seed phrase, press OK. At that point, all your money is gone forever. Yep. So it's never, ever reply to people that you don't know. And especially if they're going to ask something like, give me your seed phrase, they're never going to ask for money or anything like that. Just don't.
Yep.
And if you have questions.
I've lost a lot of money like that. Exactly like that. So that's probably worth hitting again, is that it will seem like someone is helping you. And because in this world, a lot of people do actually help you, it can be really believable. Someone will impersonate an admin or a moderator on Helium, and they'll DM you. And so I think the first piece of general advice there is, if you're getting help, get help in public. If someone DMs you and says that they're support, reply to them in the public channel and say, hey, I just got this thing. I just want to make sure it's the same person. And then there's a couple things you can do to check their user ID. But if you're going to get help in a public channel, and never, as Daniel said, I don't think we can say it enough, never give your seed phrase to anyone for basically any reason.
Yeah, man, every week I see on Hotspot, like I even have a bot that every time someone messages anything in the chat, there's a little bot that just warns you, like, don't reply to people, don't listen to your seed phrase, and then after an hour it deletes the message and keeps like repeating, because it's just painful, man, to see people like lose their stuff, right? We get very discredited, very sad, and like sometimes you just lose hope in crypto because of these things.
Yeah, it's a bummer. Let's see, Adam, what's HNT going to be used for going forward? It's a good question. I think it's going to end up being the thing that backs everything else, but it's a speculative asset, right? So if HNT goes up and down, the value of IoT and mobile will go up and down. So it's not like it's you know, I would be very careful thinking about it as gold because it's not, and it's going to go all over the place. But it's going to basically be like the core asset for determining different voting powers, different amounts of value driving into the other networks.
I got a jet. I have it on a call that started 5 minutes ago. I
Cool.
just wanted to say thanks for all your hard work for like state of the network, DePIN state, and everything that we've been building throughout the years.
Shit, yeah,
Yeah,
bud.
2024 is gonna be a freaking awesome year for us and everybody in space. Don't miss any episode and have a great like New Year's and let's go.
Right on, dog.
Cheers,
Thanks for coming on.
guys. Bye bye.
Let's roll back to the solo piece. Cool. Yeah, super good to see Daniel and what he's building. Super cool to see the hotspotty stuff. I think Adam, I think we answered all your questions. I think we hit the stuff with Greg. Thanks for the reminder, Greg. That's super cool. And different people are going to be doing different things. They're going to be swapping IoT for HNT. They'll be swapping it for Sol. They'll swap it for USDC. I always look at that and just think like, know kind of what you're doing and what your risk tolerance is, and then have fun with it from there. Because crypto is super fun, and especially when you have a couple wins that are just however you want to think of it. They're lucky accidents. They're, things where you knew something or you saw something the market didn't. Those can be really fun to have happen. Obviously, the flip side is not as fun when you make a bad move. And that's kind of how I look at this stuff, is that I had a couple tokens in the last week where they went down low. I sold them for USDC because I thought they were going to go lower. They bounced back up. But it was just one of those things. It's like, all right, that amount of USDC, if I never see it, it doesn't mean that I can't go get a cup of coffee if I want to. And yeah, you learn that lesson the hard way. Because there's been a couple days where it's like, you know what? I'm not going to get the filet mignon. I'm going to get something else. I'll be eating some chuck steak tonight. So yeah, that stuff's going on. What else am I seeing in the general state of the networks? And maybe we think about all the projects that are out there that are coming on board and talk about a couple ones that are going to come. I think the health space is really interesting. We saw STEPN and Sweatcoin and what has one other one come in. We are going to be releasing over on Deep in State a interview with Brainstem. I think it's brainstem.health, and they've got a wearable band that you can, you put on, you get your health data. And I think this is something that WeatherXM does really well, is not only do you earn tokens for providing the data, but you actually get to see the data that you are producing. So in the case of WeatherXM, and full disclosure, they're a client of 𝐒𝐩𝐸𝐻, which is the consulting company that Max and I have. You get to see what's going on your weather station. In fact, you can see over my shoulder, this little thing right there is the WeatherXM M5. And I can look at that thing right now and say like, oh, it's what is it? It's 57.2 degrees, 23 feet above the ground where my weather station is at my house. I can see the wind speed. I can see the wind direction. And, for us kind of weather nerds, that's really cool. It's also been super cool to put out a Helium enabled WeatherXM station at a paragliding site I have. That's the first time we've ever had a weather station at that site. For a bunch of different reasons, but really cool to be able to check that site before you drive out, because paragliding is really dependent on local weather, to see if it's good or bad. So these projects that are showing you, not only allowing you to sell your data, which is pretty cool, but also allowing you to see your data, that's kind of a hallmark of probably a really good project. So Hyper Ram, what's going on, dog? Yeah, I'm not sure where I was going there. What else is going on? I'm seeing, interestingly, on a lot of these servers, it's pretty quiet over Christmas. We're seeing a couple issues on all these different projects, and you just see like, all right, how fast does the team respond? I think WeatherXM, we had an issue with on Android. It looked like if you had the Android app, you could move someone else's weather station. And so that popped up on the Discord. Some super cool user brought it up and said, hey, what's going on here? I think this is broken. We talked about it. Another user said, I see the same thing. I talked with that one and said, hey, can you just test and try and move my weather station? And I'm feeding it back to the WeatherXM team the whole time. And I think this was, do you guys remember, was it Christmas Eve or Christmas Day? And I think they rolled out a hot fix within a couple hours. They looked at it. They're like, oh yeah, it does appear that you can move it. You can't actually move it, but just the appearance is bad enough. And they went and rolled out a fix. And I think that's created some other update issues, which I think is pretty normal. Like you're not going to get all your code perfect, but just the fact that they're working on it on Christmas Day, and I think the day after, is super cool to see. And to me, it's like, all right, there's a project that takes what they're doing really seriously. Obviously doesn't nail it perfectly, but no project does. Not even the dude looking in the mirror in the morning, the girl looking in the mirror in the morning at you. Nick, why would people buy new health items when they all are wearing Apple or Garmin watches already, or Auras? Yeah, I think it's a good point, and you'll see on the Brainstem convo that we have that is one of the things on the table. So not only can you take their device, but in the future you'll be able to opt in. I think he kept saying user discretion. So at your discretion, you can opt in your health data from other things. But, that's a thing where if we think about this, a lot of folks have these black Aura rings. So they track your sleep, they track your health, track your activity, all this stuff. You pay to buy a ring and then you can see your own data, but you don't earn anything off of feeding your data back to Aura. And I guarantee you they are doing something with that data. If they're not selling it, then they're kind of not being good business folks. Although I'm sure they'll protest at some point, like, no, it's private information, we can't sell it. But there's no way that they're just deleting that data as soon as they get it. So, because that data is super valuable. If you start seeing the health habits of 1 million people, and you can start making predictions on what's going on for folks, that's pretty goddamn valuable, whether you are a local government, state, federal government, whether you're a health agency, whether you're a university researcher, that data is super valuable. So I think, Nick, what is going to happen is not only are we going to see the devices being sold, but we'll see the ability to opt in your device stream from other devices onto that platform and earn tokens for it. And I think, this is the big promise of DePIN, is that there are all these value flows in the world right now that are uncaptured by the people who are creating those data flows. So whether you're looking at HiveMapper and you're going around with your dash cam, or you're looking at Aura rings, or you're looking at LoRa coverage, TTN is super cool, but they don't pay you in any tokens for providing LoRaWAN coverage. And you can say that about pretty much any project that the DePIN industry has tackled. That's kind of the point of the whole thing, is to say, hey, you're providing a data stream, whether that data is images or video or precision or weather, whatever it is. Unlike any other project that has ever gone before it, you are now going to receive value for that data flow that you are providing. So that's pretty cool. Mobile phones, whatever it is. And I think we'll see a lot of these projects work with existing networks, just like Helium has worked with the LoRaWAN Alliance and said to, Senate and Actility, like, yeah, you guys can roam onto us. That drives value into the network. Those people have to buy data credits in order to process data on the Helium network. And it's way cheaper for them to buy data credits, because data credits are so damn cheap, than to find someone to deploy a station in a specific area. So I think what we'll see is, it's probably a stretch to say that DePIN will eat the world, which is the distortion of the famous software will eat the world. But I think DePIN's going to take a pretty good chunk of it, because there's just so much value out there that has been accruing only to these companies. Now, the flip side of that is, if you're on the company side, how do you make sure that, how do you make sure that you are also capturing that value? And I think the answer is going to be the aggregation of all the data. So, there's this temporary piece where the token price is higher, so it's temporarily good. I think right now, if I'm looking at the Helium mobile indoor hotspot, I put mine in yesterday at the shop at Paleo Treats. I think Lee, I was watching YouTube videos or Instagram or like whatever she's doing, and it processed something like $200 worth of mobile tokens. So the $200 worth of mobile tokens go into the account. I think there's 7 days before you can claim that, but $200 a day is not nothing. Now that's not going to last forever, and be very, 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 very fucking careful about buying those things thinking you're going to make that forever. In fact, if you do that, you're a fucking idiot. That's going to last maybe a month, maybe 2. I don't think any more than that. That's kind of the negative financial advice that I'm comfortable giving, is do not rely on that as an income stream. But that data that is there, that value is there. And so for the individual, I think the individual data streams go way down. But in aggregate, for the companies running these things, because they're going to be processing all the information that comes across the board, they can then turn around and sell that aggregated information, or they can focus that data flow and value flow on specific points. So this is what HiveMapper is doing with the burst. It's what Helium is doing with the hex boosting, which Max helped write. Is that they can say, hey, we've got a station here. A person has already deployed this at no cost to the network. You can use the data from that station, and you wouldn't otherwise have been able to use it because it wouldn't have been there because the token incentives weren't there. So we're seeing, these pretty interesting implications of rewarding people for the value they provide, and allowing both value to accrue to aggregated data as well as to focus data. So that whole thing is super cool to see that going down. So, I don't know if you can hear my wife in the background. My mom just came in last night, and so they're chatting back and forth. But it's good to have mom around for the holidays, and we'll see what goes down there. I mean, one interesting thing to think about is just the amount of data that you produce cruising around being a human. And when, people talk about the singularity, which is when, when AI kind of takes over from us and when computers become smarter than people, is when are we going to get to the point like the DePIN singularity, where all of the data that you produce as a human has some kind of value on it? Now, I'm sure there's a couple of you that are going to think of that as being a really dystopian world. But I think I've got a lot of hope for, until DePIN came along, there was no way to really capture that value. And so now that DePIN is here, there is a way to capture it. So kind of cool. Kind of cool to see the whole thing go down. Whoops. Oh, I hit this thing. Sorry, Nick. Yeah. So that's what's going on. I think I'm going to wrap this thing up a little bit early. We just actually, I may not. I may just keep talking. We'll see how fast I get through the next pieces. So for those of you who have questions about how Helium Mobile is working, head over to Max, and I have just written 2 blog posts that go into a decent amount of detail, certainly enough for anyone to make some pretty good decisions on how they're going to understand the whole Helium Mobile network over on the goldandhawks.com blog. So that's, goldandhawks.com. Let's see, I'll bring up the old buoy fish one, and we'll see if I can change that to Golden Hawks. This is buoy.fish is Jameson's thing. We'll see if we can get him on, but I'll see if I can change that, goldandhawks.com. Cool. So if you go here, look in the blog, we just posted 2 blog posts. One is Swing Those Hips, and that's a little bit more of a deep dive into kind of the technical side. So if you want to know what's going on with the incentives and really like the progression as mobile move through all of these adjustments to the initial plan, which was in, I think, hip 53 for the mobile DAO. And then it went through all the different things. Here's how we add mapping. Here's how we think about mappers when they come online. Here's how we do the hex boosting. Here's how Wi-Fi is going to get onboarded. Here are the onboarding fees, like all of those things that are kind of the details for some of you guys who do like the details, but maybe don't have time to read all the hips. That's I think the swing your hips, or get your hips swinging, something like that. And then the other one is a rough guide to mobile. And so that is more for if you just want to learn how to estimate what your deployments look like, how to use the planner, how to think about that, maybe some things that you haven't thought about if you just, fired up, planner.hellohelium.com that you might miss. Otherwise, it helps kind of walk you through how to do those things. So that's, goldenhawks.com. Check out the blog and do that. If you need help with it, Max and I are doing consulting for folks who are probably deploying larger fleets. There's a link at the bottom of those blogs to purchase the consulting if you want to do it. A lot of the information out there is free. And I think we say a couple times in the blogs, if you're willing to put in, 5 or 6 hours of reading, maybe a little bit more, you can get all the same stuff for free. If you don't have time, then don't worry about it and hire us. 12 race now, crank on. Here comes the crankers. I think Crank just released, what was it, their new plan or something. I saw they've been doing a bunch of marketing around there. Crank is one of the ones that has said, hey, we can do Helium but better. So I kind of remain. I don't see any huge technical advantages that they have. It certainly looks like they can do a similar thing, but whether or not they can grow the network as big as Helium, as fast as Helium, and in a way that makes it worth it, I'm not convinced on that one. So yeah, gotta be careful with these things. And just the thing is, like, go do your homework, read the Crank white paper, read all the stuff that they put out there, and decide for yourself if you think that they can do a better job than Helium. And if it's a good fit for you. And some of these are going to be good fits for people. If you are only interested, and we'll just shift fire a little bit. If you're only interested in making money for doing nothing, then DeFi is filled with those. They would like to call them opportunities. I would say you should think of them as pitfalls or traps. But there are plenty of those traps out there where if you get in and out at the right time and you're lucky and maybe you have some insider information, great, you'll make a bunch of money. Most of the time, you're just going to get fucked. You're going to lose money. So just be super careful of anything that says, hey, you're going to earn a bunch of tokens, money, whatever, for doing nothing. As amazing as DePIN is, there is still no plan on the planet that I can see that lets you earn money for doing nothing for an infinite period of time. So those things, I think, if we look back to the early days of DePIN, is the insane rewards will last no more than 6 months. And that may be enough time for you to get in and get out if that's your thing. Like, hey, we can't ignore the fact that exists. But to think that, hey, this is going to last at the insane reward level, whatever that is, whether that's, for whatever you're getting rewarded for, just be really careful thinking that you're going to pay off your mortgage for the rest of your life with the thing that you buy today. That will not last. And in most cases, I would say that you're looking at kind of 2 weeks to 2 months. 6 months is probably the really far end of that piece. And that is, I think, in large part because people know what's going on, right? When you have enough people, taking bites out of the same size pie, the pie size doesn't change. The slices just get smaller and smaller and smaller. If there's only 4 people on the network, everybody gets a quarter. If there's 10 people on the network, everybody gets a tenth. When there's 10,000 people on the network, your slice of pie is a fucking crumb. And you've got to know that going in, that you're probably going to get crumbs if you're late to this stuff. So if you're early, cool. Get in there, get the thing turned on, get your tokens, think about what you're going to do, have your plan. I won't say get in and get out. I mean, I certainly, think that over the long term, this is my personal opinion for the tokens that I hold, that they're probably going to go up higher than they are right now. So I'm going to sit on them. But that may not be true for you. And you may look at this thing and be like, that's batshit crazy. I'm going to sell all my shit right now and get the fuck out while I can. And both of those are reasonable. It's like, as long as you know what you're doing, you've done your own research, you feel like you have a good command of the situation, that's going to work for you. Hopefully it'll work out for you. So I think that wraps it for the last show of the year. I will be doing, of course, more of these next year. So I'll keep on going. Wednesdays at, I think, 9:00 Pacific is when we run these State of Networks things. If you haven't hit the like button yet, go ahead and smash that sucker, like, subscribe, whatever, notification bell, all of those things really help. If you want to get more DePIN specific stuff, and especially the interviews with founders and VCs, head over to DePIN State, which is another YouTube channel where my business partner Max and I do pretty much, it's going to be twice weekly shows is what it looks like right now with the amount of interest we're getting, walking you through different projects. So whether that's brainstem.health, whether that's Peak, whether that's Helium, we've had Amir Helium come on, we've had Ariel at Hivemapper come on, we've had kind of all the big founders come on. So you're getting it straight from the horse's mouth, as well as founders from projects that you may never have heard of. So all of those things are out there. We just did one with Wi-Fi Daba that was really good. Super cool overview of what's going on there. Those guys have some cool stuff coming down the pipe. So that's what's shaking there. Thanks for the thumbs up while we still have them. I'm going to sign off and wish you a ripping end of this year. Super happy new year. Be safe out there. Don't do the stupid things that get people killed, like drinking and driving or all that silly shit. Stay home, be safe, hang out with your family and friends. Make sure you pass a bunch of love around. And the last little part that I'll make here is, look, the holidays can be a really happy time for a lot of people. For some people, they're a super sad time. So if you've got friends and family who you know are prone to that sadness, or if you know people who are lonely, make sure you get them over to your house, share a meal with them, spend some time with them. It's on all of us to make this world a way better place, and we can all do our part just by reaching out and making sure we pull other people up. The flip side is, and this will go completely unnoticed because I've been down in the depths. When you're down there, you don't want help. You think that, asking for help is weak or whatever it is. If you feel like shit and you're way down low, at least get a meal and a full night's sleep in you, and then go find a friend and you can pour out all your misery on them. And if they're a good friend, they'll listen to you and get you back up on track, and we'll go into 2024 with a ripping year. So that's my hope for all of you, is that we get to help and be helped by each other and go into a rad new year with 2024. With that, I think I'll wrap this thing. Super good to see you guys, and I will see you next year. Rock on.